It's
Thanks, Devin.
You're welcome, man. It's field day at Tech Field Day. Oh, hence the whistle. So, just to kick it off with a little bit of introductions, my name is Devin Akin. I'm the Chief Wi-Fi Architect here at Aerohive. And I'm just going to introduce our team and a little bit about what's going on today. Our team today for what we're going to do consists of Paul Lavasser. Stand up and just wave at the camera a little bit.
Hello, everyone.
And he's going to do some of our presentations and demonstrations, kind of be our MC for today. And then Abby Strong, our product manager, she's going to do some presentations about what we've done in 2011. And then Andrew Garcia, our technical marketing engineer. And then the illustrious Matthew Gast, with his cool shades. Every picture I think I've ever seen of him has these shades on. I don't know what it is with him with shades. But he's going to do a presentation for us in just a moment. A little bit about some new technology come down the pike. So I'm going to kind of step out of the way and let these guys do what they do. But wanted to welcome the delegates to Field Day at Tech Field Day and thank them for coming. And just want to talk about let these guys talk about what we've been up to for a year and what we're going to be doing in the future. So thank you very much for coming, and got a pretty tight schedule, so we'll be moving very quickly. Oh, and I won't be afraid to blow the whistle if we get behind on. We won't get behind on schedule, so we're going to move very, very quickly. So these guys will be moving from topic to topic very quickly and things like that. So first, you've got some power juice in front of you. I just want to toast you guys and. A little bit of Diet Peach Snapple to everybody. Welcome and
cheers.
Cheers. This kind of get you going. It's not spiked. It's the actual stuff.
Sweet. Oh.
All right.
I just became Devin.
So Matthew.
I got a hug for your neck.
If Matthew takes off his glasses, by the way, everyone burns, so we have to be careful.
He's like Cyclops, if you never take those off.
Clearly should have coordinated this a little bit better.
There's one hoopy fruit who really knows where his towel is.
Oh.
Input.
I totally heard something completely different.
Oh. Isn't that you, or is that the...
That's the
All right, we switched over. Source. Dun, dun, dun.
The good news is it makes it look like I had everything ready because I had enough time to get the presentation up.
Cool new stuff.
All right, so I'm going to try and stay within my allotted time, which is something that any of my coworkers will tell you I have trouble with. Given that I was talking first, I was thinking about the role I have, and I thought, all right, I need to have a picture of myself. And this is Rickey Henderson, probably the greatest baseball leadoff hitter ever to play the game. And so I'm not feeling any pressure there. I do promise not to steal from you.
Wow.
My background, I had a couple of really fun jobs that unfortunately paid terribly. When I was attending 802.11 meetings, I wound up getting myself elected to be chair of the 802.11 revision for the year. It was an awesome job, paid exactly nothing. Thankfully, I had a full-time job that sponsored it. And I had the opportunity to contribute to 802.11U. I was a task group officer there, which makes what's going on really fascinating because stuff that I actually wrote in the specification is now things that everybody's talking about. I did see the Twitter feed yesterday. Unfortunately, I was not able to be here. I had to be somewhere else, which means that, as with so much of my life, I was on an airplane and I missed it. At the Wi-Fi Alliance, I chair both security task groups, although thankfully one of them is being shut down because we've accomplished our goal. Earlier this week, we launched the Management Frame Protection Program. I won't be talking about that today because I only have 10 minutes. I can't cover everything I want to. Here at Aerohive, I am the director of stuffing software sausages together. I run the Access Point operating system. And I am too busy. So for anybody out there, either in the room today or listening in on the cameras, I need to hire somebody. And if you're interested,
someone who knows how to make sausages.
That does, delegates? No, that does not apply to you. That wasn't directed at you.
And some of you may know me as the author of this book. This book is really old, though, so you don't want that book. This is the book you want. If you go looking for this, you won't find it in a bookstore yet. And the reason for that is I was working on it on the plane on the way home last night. However, even though I'm late, that doesn't mean that you get to miss out. We will be giving copies out to everybody.
Wow.
So, all right, talked about myself, promised free stuff. Now let's talk about interesting things. So, in thinking about how to structure this, I was thinking about where we are as an industry and how we're doing with 11N, and it's something that a lot of people are talking about, and we're a different breed. We're always looking towards the next thing. So for us, I was thinking, all right, so how can I say dead in a really interesting way? And there is this awesome set of pictures on Flickr where somebody has done the dead parrot sketch in Lego. Hence the title, We Are Pining for the Fjords. Basically, as an industry, we did it. 802.11n is what everybody does. Just like when I got into networking, everybody did Ethernet. When I got into networking, everybody said, we're going to do ATM. They were wrong, though. One interesting note, technically 802.11n is about to stop existing. And that's because there's a periodic roll-up process that goes on at the IEEE where all the amendments get turned into something really big and unreadable. So that process is going on right now. I did read that the 802.11 2012 revision will be probably published in February or March, I think. I forget exactly when. So if 802.11n is dead, and we're really interested in higher speed things, let's play a game. Who watched Sesame Street? All right, so let's play. One of these things is exactly like the others. So here up on the screen, I've got a bunch of things. Can you see that one of these things is exactly like the others? If you don't believe me, all right, let's go down the list. So we got controllers, and we got dinosaurs. You can find dinosaurs in museums. You can't find controllers in museums. I actually went to the Computer History Museum on my lunch break. It's a fascinating place. I recommend going there if you ever get a free minute. But they don't have controllers. Not interesting enough. If you want to, there's you can go watch them fire up the difference engine, like the original computer. They've got a mechanical calculator, and I think at a couple of points a month, they fire up an old PDP-1, and you can play the original video game, which is something that I've never been able to make the time for, but I really would like to.
The space game?
Yeah. You can get toy dinosaurs. So I went back to my childhood here when they came out with the Dinobots to make sure to get every 8-year-old boy who goes through the dinosaur phase. So I owned one of these. I'm not going to tell you which one. You talk to children about controllers. That's a search on bored child. Best picture I could find. All right, what else can you do? Well, cool dinosaurs can fly. And this is what you should do to controllers. So here we've got a cargo plane doing an airdrop. So I don't know how well you can see it, but you've got a cargo pallet with a parachute. So controllers also fly. They accelerate at 9.8 meters per second, which is an entirely appropriate speed. Dinosaurs are extinct. We know this. In fact, their extinction made room for us. Because dinosaurs went extinct, it made room for mammals. That's where all our ancestors came from. And well, controllers are heading that way. So here, we've got 802.11ac and beamforming off here, coming at the controllers. I could label each of these meteors. And I really did like the Protect Your Park Endangered Species Habitat. You might want to put a sign up on your data center for that. And finally, I've got a dinosaur here. I'm putting it in a museum. I got to change the architecture. I got to make sure there's a big enough room for it. Well, here I've got a network. I'm putting controllers in. I got to make some architectural accommodation there too. The difference is people will come by at some point, look at one of these and say, wow, that's a really cool building. So what's driving this? There are a couple of things going on. First is the raw speed. Second, we've got some changes going on in terms of security. When we designed as an industry, we designed CCMP, it was obvious that we had to come up with a good crypto protocol. It was based on AES, so you design it right, it's secure. The trouble with CCMP is that it requires that you encrypt twice. So you've got to go through the AES block twice. And if you expand out the CCMP acronym, it's counter mode with CBC MAC. And the CBC is a cipher blockchain. So you encrypt a block and then you use the output and you've got to chain it together. So every time you split up the data, to encrypt it, you depend on the results of the encryption from the previous block. That's fine when your wireless network is slow. It's not fine when your wireless network is really fast. We know how to deal with this. The Galois counter mode, which is a different way of wrapping a whole crypto system around the cipher. It's cool because it works in parallel. So you can take all of your data blocks, you encrypt at the same time. It's a lot faster. The downside is that you may not have hardware that knows what to do with it, hence the no GCMP inside. And I guess I will talk a little bit about 11W. That's the CMAC reference. CMAC is another crypto scheme that's used. It works by essentially signing based on AES. And if you don't have hardware support for these, you don't get support for these protocols. So really what's going on here, and there's an interesting interplay, because I was reading the 802.11ac draft 2.0. And in draft 1, there was a note that said you can't use GCMP with 11ac. And that has changed in draft 2, because in order to get to the speeds that we need to, you're going to have to revise the crypto. It's not because it's insecure, it's because it's not fast enough. So anything that you're... Is that a question?
Yeah. What's that cutoff, or what's that barrier?
It depends a little bit on the implementation. So we're not entirely sure where it is. A common thing I heard tossed around at the last working group meeting that I attended was a couple of gigabits. And that fits. If you look at Cavium's product line, the high-end Nitrox, I think, does 2 gigabits a second of CCMP. So we've changed this in the spec, and it's an important thing to look forward to, make sure that the hardware you're buying is capable of doing this. Other basics, you don't really need to know this stuff, or you probably already know this about the number of channels. I'd like to talk a little bit about coding. There's something called a constellation diagram, which is not like this. This is a real constellation. So when you encode the bits, every bit has to have a phase shift and an amplitude change. And so here you've got 2. It's really easy. So to go to higher speeds, you make the constellation progressively bigger. And you go all the way up to 64 QAM in 802.11ag. One of the kickers that you get in 11ac is you go up to 256 QAM. So I stole these diagrams from the spec, because let's face it, I got better things to do than put 256 dots on a page.
That's what you have interns for.
Remember, I'm trying to hire somebody because I've got too much work to do already.
You got sausage,
So what does this mean? Well, let's say that you receive something and it's like in this circle. So we know what this is because this is clearly, we can pick out the constellation point that is. And if that's the error we get, and you go to 256, it's like, well, now I've got 4 data points I can pick out. It means that we've got to have a much cleaner radio design. Now you do get an extra 25 megabits in a 20 megahertz channel, but it illustrates part of the reason why you have to pay a lot of attention to the analog front end. Even though we're a digital standard, there's a lot that we have to do to make sure that you actually receive your 1s and 0s correctly. How fast is this? I used a sonic boom to illustrate it. This is a variety of data points I pulled out of the air. The important things to pull off this slide are that you get an improvement over 11N even at the same channel structure, just because of some of the coding things that go on, provided you can actually do 256 QAM. And you go to 80 megahertz channels. First of all, that makes channel planning in 5 gig really hard, but you're already starting to push a gig. And we're going to make it worse. I was trying to think of how to illustrate beamforming, and I found this cool picture. It's a saw cutting a beam. So it really is, it's beamforming, just not the kind we think about. We had beamforming in 11N. Nobody implemented it because there are multiple ways of doing it, and anytime you give somebody 5 options and any 2 vendors have to pick from the same set of options, you wind up not having a lot of interoperability. We learned the lesson in 11AC. There's 1. So now everybody knows what they're doing. Is that a question, Andrew?
Could you maybe clarify, because I know people know that beamforming is out there in the industry, and you just said that they didn't implement it. So just to clarify, what people have implemented versus what the spec has?
So the spec is about explicit beamforming when you measure a channel and you adjust based on that. It's possible to do implicit beamforming based on missed acts and things like that. So by simplifying it, it becomes much easier to build beamforming into chips. That makes it really widely available. And actually, the big animating idea behind 11AC is this idea of multi-user beamforming. So you form multiple beams to multiple users at the same time. So when you start talking about that gigabit, it's actually gigabit in different directions at the same time. So this is great. When does it come out? This is kind of what it's like trying to predict timelines in the IEEE. So we are in progress right now. The kind of high-level view that I try and give people is this is a lot like 802.11n was in early 2007. We've got the second draft of the standard out. The Wi-Fi Alliance has formed the relevant task groups to create a test plan. We're starting to see the initial product announcements. So there was a fair bit of discussion about this at CES. Don't expect to see that much in the way of 4x4 11N. If you talk to any chip vendors this week, what you'll find out is that all of their engineering teams doing 4-chain work are really looking at doing it on 8AC. And we can have a discussion, probably not this morning given the schedule, and I'm surprised I haven't been shot yet by the MC. There's a big push from the chipset vendors. Obviously, new chips come with a bit of a premium. But this is all technology that we've worked out. This isn't like 11N where we had to introduce MIMO and get it working. This is about taking technology that we've already understood and making it into a product. So with that, I could say a lot more, but I understand this is not a talking event. So PowerPoint's boring, and with that, I'll get out of the way for demos and turn it over to my colleagues.
Thank you. All right. What I'm going to do now, do you have this thing? Yes. So the first thing I'd like to do is just give some people some airtime that don't get much airtime in the company. They work in their offices and don't see many people except for in meetings. And so I'd like to bring up our founder of our company, Changming Liu. All right. So I thought it'd be just a good idea to introduce him. And again, he's really used to speaking in front of people, so so he's not nervous at all. So we just want to get an idea of we just saw Matthew talk about 11AC and these really fast speeds. Were these speeds in your mind when you were coming up with the architecture for Aerohive?
No, I wish I would have the crystal ball 7 years ago, right? But one thing that just struck me when I attended one of the IEEE meetings around 2005, there was a demo about gigabit Wi-Fi can use the FTP transfer files. So that reminded me how the Ethernet evolved 2 decades ago, right? From coax to a 2-pair and 2 gigabit, right? So the same thing expect to happen for Wi-Fi. Because Wi-Fi can only one way to go in terms of speed, can faster and faster. as we can see today for 11AC. So that made me realize that although the control-based architecture is very popular at that time, like so many startups working on control-based architectures, but it may not be sustainable in the future when the gigabit really comes.
All right, so how'd you go about then solving the problems of these very fast speeds?
I was thinking about keep things simple, right? Go back to basics. If you look at how the Ethernet handles traffic, right? Because of distributed architecture, all routers and switches do on local forwarding, but then somehow coordinated through routing protocols or spanning tree protocols, right? So wireless should do the same way.
All right. So, are there any downsides to distributed architecture? I get asked that all the time, by the way.
Sure, everything has an upside and downside, right? I think the downside of distributed architecture is, as I can think of, is the complexity. It's the easiest thing to say to do a distributed architecture, but it's hard thing to do. Because if you look at the Wi-Fi, kind of roaming everywhere, right? Thanks. Yeah, kind of roaming everywhere. For sometimes in the same layer 2 network, sometimes cross layer 3 boundaries, right? So layer 3 roaming definitely is a challenge. Another thing is RF is invisible. You cannot see it. You have limited bandwidth, subject to interference. Those are challenges. But luckily, I do have a very good engineering team. And today I have two excellent founding engineers here with me. One is Yong, he worked on layer 3 roaming, and another is Changming, he worked on the radio management. Thank you guys for an excellent job.
All right. So thank you guys for developing such a great product. All right. So the next thing, though, do you see in the future, though, will there be a need to change the architecture at all to support the new technologies as it gets faster and faster?
But as I mentioned earlier, when we design this architecture, we already have gigabit Wi-Fi in mind. So with our actual Arrive 11AC, it's only validate our architecture further. I don't foresee any change in any near future.
I don't either. Anyone else? Right. And then finally, a question I get asked a lot is, how did the name Aerohive come about?
Actually, initially, that's a very interesting question. Initially, we want to come up with a name can describe our architecture, distributed architecture, right? A beehive definitely come into the mind, but the beehive definitely is not a good name for a company. Also, we need something to describe wireless. That's why I talked to my daughter. She was around 10 years old at that time. She came out, how about Aero plus Hive? Replace BE with Aerohive. That's where the name coming from.
Yeah, good. Thank you, Changming.
Thank you.
All right, a little history, that's all. And by the way, Changming is making his email available, so if there's any ever question to our CTO, you can feel free to contact him at cliu@aerohive.com. Thank you, Changming, and
Thanks,
Yang
guys.
and Lin.
Have a great day.
All right. All right. So, oops. So last year, we were proving the architecture. You know, we started from the beginning. Is this on, by the way? Do I need to turn this on?
You're fine.
All right. I can't hear myself. Monitor, check. All right. So, siblings, yes. So last year, what we did was we said, you know what? We're starting from the beginning of time. This is the first Wireless Tech Field Day. So let's start from the beginning and just do some of our really cool things. So what we demonstrated last year, and there are videos for it you can watch online to prove it actually worked. Mesh and resiliency, we pulled cables, things actually rerouted around the failures. We had sub-second layer 2 and layer 3 roaming, so across layer 3 boundaries, across subnets, you preserve your IP address. We did Active Directory Kerberos integration. We join our Hive APs to the domain as Radius servers, and then they can authenticate in branch offices or wherever they are, and also remain if you lose connectivity to your WAN, you still get to keep your credentials locally on the APs. We did some really cool acting about that last year as well. And then we, over the last year now, that what we were going, hey, cooperative control we've been working on now and refining and retuning over the last just about 5.5, 6 years. So what we're going to do now is talk about some of the new technologies we've been coming out with. And Abby will help with that as well.
Okay, so just a quick overview of what we've done since the last time you guys were here. This is everything that we've launched in 2011. You can see we've been very busy keeping our engineering team up late and here often. These are all the new platforms. Yes. These are all the new platforms that we've released in the past year. We've got our new 3x3x3 access points, a new outdoor access point. We also launched my baby, the branch router BR100, which you can all see sitting in front of you, and also our Cloud VPN gateway, because why build another big iron tunnel terminator when you can stick it in a VA and have it become infinitely scalable like everything else Aerohive. We also launched features like Partner Admin to allow our partners to immediately create HM Online accounts for our management system in the cloud, so they don't have to wait for those of us on the West Coast to wake up and process an order. Came out with HiveOS 4.0, which had network-based MDM and private pre-shared key self-registration, which you guys will see in a couple minutes. And then 5.0, where we completely redesigned the management system to accommodate unified wired and wireless policies. And even cooler, you can now see the entire policy and everything that gets pushed out to your network on one page, which is my favorite feature of 5.0. And then we also came out with Student Manager. We gave you guys a demo of TeacherView last year. Now we've got a more fully robust system that can do logging and integration with PowerSchool and things like that. But a couple other things that we did, and a lot of this was because you guys came in early last year and told us these are things that Aerohive really needs to work on. One of the other big features in 4.0 was our automatic rogue mitigation. So if we do detect rogues based on any of the WIPS policies that you place on the network, we can automatically start mitigating those rogues, either based on all based on parameters that you set. And then one of my favorites, spectrum analysis, and not just spectrum analysis, but spectrum analysis for free on our access points and viewable from an iPad. Because why wouldn't you want to walk around doing spectrum from an iPad? So those are two things I think you guys have brought up the last time you were here. Just wanted to let you know we did listen. And then of course our branch on demand solution, which came out end of last year. One little surprise that we have is, we tried to go out and we'd wanted to develop one more product. And I went to Twitter trying to, I wanted to be a Wi-Fi Kiwi, but it turns out it was already taken. So we made our own. This is our last product development of the year. Wi-Fi Kiwi. So, that is for you.
You can follow the real Wi-Fi Kiwi at the real Wi-Fi Kiwi.
Quick, someone create the fake Wi-Fi Kiwi account. We'll use that as the profile avatar.
It's already done.
It's the real Wi-Fi Kiwi.
Yes.